So one thing that, you know, that just kind of seems weird, right, is, federal government saying repeatedly all over the media they want to make sure that we understand they are going after the dangerous ones, the rapists, the killers, the bad and Trindragua, however you should pronounce that. Not like I just did, but imagine somebody who can pronounce it better, who can speak better in English than I can. So, um, that's who they're going after. Why, oh why, are the Democrats just so anti-American that they don't want to get rid of these terrorists, right? Being the argument. But what I can't quite figure out is, so what we've seen is, aside from people maybe not by ICE, maybe by ICE, but we're seeing, mayors because they protested, getting arrested. We're seeing relatives getting arrested who are U.S. citizens, but, they were a little upset, right, that their mom or whomever was being picked up after being here for, 30, 40, whatever years, and not doing a goddamn thing wrong. Because ICE isn't saying, individually, they're not saying that these people have records. They're saying, well, no, they don't have a record. The head of DHS or whatever that one asshole is said, and I should have the quote here. I apologize. It's not that hard to find though, right? If you're interested, but that these people not having a record is very suspicious. Very suspicious. Like, what the fuck? You know? And so, if not having a record is suspicious, having a record is suspicious, then neither one matters worth a goddamn, does it? Because if they're both the same, then it doesn't matter. And so, but to kind of work this where I was wanting to go, so they say they're only getting the most dangerous people, right? Gangbangers or whatever. And there's not been a single altercation. Because I guarantee you, my next paycheck, a couple paychecks, that if there was an altercation, a shooting match, whatever, that's all we would hear about the next month, because it would be, it would really behoove the federal government to point out that, look, we said that they're dangerous. The Democrats say they weren't. They didn't say that, but that's the way Republicans would frame it. And then this happens. So why is it what we're hearing instead is not about gunfights, not even about fisticuffs between the ICE agents and individuals. Again, the most dangerous of the dangerous. We're hearing about mothers getting picked up, women who were in the fucking hospital giving birth getting picked up. I think that actually they released her because she wasn't the right person. And then there was that case, I think in Oklahoma, where they were fucking Americans, but they happened to live in the house that somebody that ICE was after, they were looking for them instead. And, this has actually happened a couple times. So they'll just ransack the American citizen's house, right? We all pretend that that matters. And I want to kind of make a little point at the end, if I remember. Um, Ransack their house, and then when they decide, oh, okay, well, yeah, you're not the right person, then they just strut away. like some kind of tough motherfucker who, because what? You, you know, are accosting a woman and her two daughters, that were sleeping. You're a real tough son of a bitch, I'll tell you. Um, and but we just kind of, media just kind of acts like, oh well, I don't know. Okay, well, that's what happens. But 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 again, not a single traffic or not a single gunfight, right? Why the fuck not? I mean, are Americans so goddamn weak now that what we consider very dangerous people, are the kind of people that when they get accosted by people, in hoodies, with masks, no badges, nothing, running up on them. They don't even draw their gun. They don't even. They do nothing. I mean, I'm kind of concerned that, kind of like we're the baddies in this, right? Because the people that are getting picked up had, you know, the wrong tats or whatever. Um, and so I don't know. Again, I don't know if we're such pussies that people who are pretty benign seem like they have no record. Nobody has even the foggiest thought of why it is that they're, dangerous. But or like the one guy out east who, bystanders, I guess, were one way or another, it got out that even the ICE agents were like, hey, this isn't the guy, right? This isn't the guy on the list. And, lead was just like, well, fucking pick him up anyway. So, we're sending people around. And, for years we have to hear about, oh, black people, Latino people, thugs, whatever kind of bullshit. And then when we get people like the administration in charge, well, no, I mean, they're thugs. I mean, that's what they're doing is precisely what they were afraid black people would do if they had the power. That they were afraid, you know, um, Latino people would do if they had the power. This is no different than, when, like kind of leading up to the end of slavery, when it was just a perfectly rational conversation that, well, we can't free them. I mean, just imagine, they're going to kill all the whiteys, right? Which, the numbers would not really bear that out, but that was a lot of people thought, because when you totally dehumanize people, it is kind of reasonable to think that, oh, they're going to be mad. And what I would do is X. What I'm afraid of is them coming down on me, having the power of the national government, being thugs in hoodies with the masks, and just beating the fuck out of me for shits and giggles. That's what white people were afraid of. And I'm just not, I used to avoid this kind of shit because people just get so sensitive around race or whatever. But I mean, there are incredibly valid points to all that stuff, and people just, I don't know, just get so goddamn stupid. So, again, I don't know if we're just so fucking weak that people with no record, no nothing, somehow in our mind conceptually they're dangerous. They're the worst of the worst because, well, they kind of, they gave me shivers when I looked at them. Whether it's a mother with, a baby or whatever. Um, and then, of course, we're totally fuck due process. That's out the window. And as I've been trying to mention, not at work yet, because I'm not sure that that would go well, and I feel bad about that. But I try to do what I can do. Um, but I mean, it's like we have no. There's no such thing as a U.S. citizen versus a U.S. non-citizen. Um, because if ICE showed up for whatever reason, they wanted somebody that looks like this on their list. What am I going to do about it? Right? I'm gonna grab for my um, birth certificate. What if it doesn't look right to them? What if my driver's license? They're like, well, you're on the list though, so your driver's license can't be valid. You can't be like, we already know that you're a non-citizen, right? And so that just kind of blows out everything, everything. And then, just a last thought, maybe, you know, the issue I always had with um, militias were varied, probably, and less important than, the issue I have with them now is they're just nowhere. They're nowhere at all, you know. And all of these years of listening to right wing people talk about, oh, the government's going to come and get you, the government has too much power, or, we need to listen, the sheriff ought to be, the one that handles everything, like, or the, sovereign citizen. That's really weird shit. Um, I've never found a way to make any kind of sense of that, because, like, if you're in somebody's backyard, who gives a fuck? You're a sovereign citizen. Yeah, so go be a sovereign citizen fucking elsewhere. Who cares? I mean, it's just so weird. But anyway, all right. Well, I'll wrap this up. I could, keep going, but I'll probably go on to other topics or whatever. But it's like I said, all of this going after the worst has been a complete lie. I think for the most part we know it's been a lie. Um, but unfortunately, for various reasons, I mean, people just don't want to rock the boat. So, all right, see you later.